Hello everyone. I'm going live a little bit early today. I hope that it doesn't mess too many people up and hopefully you can catch the replay. But I have some other things going on today and so I needed to do this just a little bit earlier than I had planned at around 11 o'clock. But welcome to week three and the final week of the All the Things Sew Along. I am so excited to share some of the final tips on bag assembly. It's been so fun to see your bags that you've been posting and all of the creative additions people are making, added pockets and tags and all the things that make, I think for me, writing patterns it's so fun because it's like I come up with a design and then, you see how someone changes it and makes it their own. And it's just like so fun. It's one of my favorite things about writing patterns. Anyways, so today we're talking about bag assembly. So I'm just going to go over my the things that I prepared to share with you, the tips I prepared to share with you. And then I also had put up a question box in my stories yesterday and I probably had like 10 or 15 questions. So I wrote those down too. So after I share what I prepared, I'll address the ones that aren't addressed in what I prepared because a lot of them will be answered in the assembly tips that I have prepared. So to get started, so we're doing the bag assembly. So you should have all your fabric quilted, your handles made, and everything like starting to be put together. Your bindings on your end panels and pockets. I decided to do my lining fabric on like flip it for the end. So this is my end panel. This is my main fabric, right? So this is my main fabric. I just flipped it. And so there's a little peak of lining showing through on the front, which I think turned out fun. So I just wanted to talk about like your end panels. So you're going to round your corners. There's a template in the pattern for rounding your corners. So you can print the template and then just trace it and cut it. I love these Creative Grids circle rulers. They come in a set of 5. Is that right? 5. Yep. And so I use them. I think they're maybe $30 or $40. So it's kind of an investment if you want to make it. If you're going to be doing circle things, I think it's worth it. But I use them a lot for lots of bag making or rounding corners on quilts or things like that. So it was worth it to me to get these, but I do sell them if you're interested. I use this 2.5 one all the time. So I like this because I can just lay it down and use my rotary cutter and trim the edge right off. I just like rotary cut it right off. But you can also use a cone of thread. The bottom of a cone of thread is often the right size as well. So you probably have one of those lying around. So if you're not interested in grabbing rulers. So you're going to round your corners and then you're going to sew in your end panel. Okay. I've been debating on whether to talk about this because I don't want to confuse people, but you're going to get it because you're tuning into the live and watching the replay. I made my bias binding, right? Someone did ask, I'll just share this tip now. Someone asked how to join the binding edges. It's just, you'll lay them on. I already trimmed off the extra of this one because I've already attached one side. You'll just lay them on, and I like to say you just like sew V to V, which I cut this edge off. Oh, but you can kind of see it. There would have been fabric going here. So you would just do it like you would be sewing your bindings together, like quilt bindings together, and just attach them. I don't know if that's a really great example, but then you're going to open that open. I like to press my seams open when I do my bias. So the reason we do bias, right, you can see this is the stretch because we're going around curves. This particular bag just has a 2.5 inch curve, and it actually, I have tried because I saw somebody on Instagram sew a bag with striped binding or striped fabric for the binding, and it was not bias. And I was like, did you cut that? And it was like printed on the bias and you cut it and it made it straight grain or whatever, anyway, like the straight stripes. And she was like, oh no, I didn't have to do bias binding on it. And I was like, what? So I've learned a lot of methods. Like I had a way, I've made hundreds and hundreds of bags. Like I really have made that many bags. I used to sew samples for Annie, Patterns by Annie. She's the one who developed Soft and Stable. So I literally have made hundreds of bags and I just had a way I did binding. And as I've been doing some of these newer bag patterns, like I've realized there's so many different ways to do things. So I wanted to just show you. the way it's written in the pattern is you're going to attach your end panel here, right here, right? And then sew your binding on, which is what I did on this side, right? I have this all ready to go. But you can attach your binding a different way if you want. And the way you can attach it is while the bag is flat, you can attach the binding. This is just a scrap piece, right? So you'd want your whole piece of binding. But you can attach it to the side of the bag first. Okay, so you guys are getting this little tip. You're tuning in. You can just attach it first. So you'll want to leave your extra at the top, right? Because we're going to use that to complete our corners. And you can just sew it straight on the edge. And that just helps a step when you sew it straight on the edge, because then you don't have to sew it while it's a three-dimensional object, right? It just is, it makes it a lot easier to attach. This one, it doesn't bother me so much because it's easy to maneuver to do it how it's written in the pattern, but I just wanted to share there's different ways to do it. And I've tried it both ways. I think sewing it on the straight edge of the bag is super slick and super easy. And you can probably, I've even done it with straight grain binding as well. I love the way that the bias rolls over and goes around the curve. And sometimes I've gotten a little bit of puckers if I do straight grain binding. But you could just cut your 2 1/4 inch or 2.5 inch strip and do binding that way as well. So hopefully that made sense. So because our binding is on the exterior of the bag, you're going to be sewing the binding on the exterior of the bag along the long straight edge. If you want to try that method, if you do try it, send me a DM. I want to hear how you like it. Okay, so attaching the end panel. So I didn't grab my Wonder Clips. Let me grab my Wonder Clips. Thought I had everything. So you're going to use your Wonder Clips, and the biggest tip I would say is to start at the top edge and match your bindings at the top. So you're going to do that and just go along the straight edges, like all the way down the straight edge of your end panel. And then I like to do it on the other side too. I don't know if you're getting this, seeing this very well, but I'm going to start on the other side, and then I'm going to just ease in the bottom, right? Ease in the bottom. So you'll clip it all in and ease in the bottom. So that's my tip on the end panel. Start with, because I've seen some people say it doesn't fit, or it's like they started on one side and just tried to make it fit, but it's like you have to ease it in, so you have to make it fit, right? So start on your top edges and then just clip all the way down and ease into the corners. All right, and then you're just going to sew it right in. And I find that sewing with the end panel against the bed of your sewing machine, the base of your sewing machine, is easier, because then you can just smash this out of the way as you're going around these curves. So those are all in the instructions, but just try it. It's much easier than doing it this way when you're dealing with the bulk of this underneath. So you want to sew this way so you can sew around it. Okay, and so then attaching your bias binding, if you're going to do it according to the pattern, I have a YouTube video, so you can check that out. It's all the details are going to be in the newsletter when I send it this afternoon as well. So I'll have links to the YouTube in the newsletter, because I have a video showing how I do all the bias binding. But the way I did it is I sewed it on to the outside first, and then this is all ready to be sewn. I didn't sew it yet. But I wanted to talk about binding because when you're doing binding on bags, I know like some people are like, I don't want the binding on the outside because you can see my stitching, or some people prefer to hand bind. To each their own. Everyone does their own thing. I think you could totally hand bind this if you want. It's really not that much to hand bind. So if you're feeling really particular about how you want it to look, go ahead and hand bind it, because that's slick, and easy. I like to do 2 1/4 inch binding, but I feel pretty confident in my binding skills. I want my binding to match on both sides, right? So I sewed it on with a 1/4 inch seam, and that's why I did 2 1/4, so it lines up. It's like the same on this side and this side. So then when I sew through this, hopefully my stitching will match on both sides, right? And I've had to practice that for a while. It does get easier. But one of the reasons why I also use so many clips on this, like use your clips. I find that having a lot of clips keeps my binding in place better, right? But it also helps me sew slowly. And I think that going slow is key. And I think, especially on the binding, you want to use your top stitch needle, your size 90 14 needle. So if you're having trouble going through some of the thickness, which I just saw a comment that their Juki had a trouble. This is probably the thickest part doing all these bindings. I'm going to show you how to fold finish the corner too, but make sure you have a top stitch jeans needle, like a jeans needle, or I shared last week that my favorite is the top stitch 9014 needle, but just like a bigger, heavier duty needle will definitely help. And sewing slowly, and sometimes I've had really thick spots where I even like hand wheel it through just slowly, so that that's the case. If people are breaking needles, part of the reason, like, if you know a needle breaks, if this is heavy and it pulls the needle and it pulls it, it will pull it and it will break it. So having your table clear and having this, like, you know, it's like I always tell people, I'm like, let your sewing machine do the work. Let your sewing machine pull it through. And sometimes we push it or force it and then it breaks the needle. So like just sew slowly and just take your time on the binding, because I know this is everyone's least favorite part of bag making, but it gets easier. I promise it gets easier. And it really can be an enjoyable part of bag making. I don't mind it at all anymore. I just am like, oh yeah, this is the finish. Like, this is the finish line, you know? Just kind of like quilts too. Anyways, okay, I wanted to show real quick I made a reel about this, so I'll share that later too, but I wanted to show how this end corner finishes because people had questions about this. So I sew my binding on like normal, right? And then I'm wrapping it around, and I have this raw edge here, and I want this edge finished, so I'm just going to fold that around and tuck it in, and then fold it. And so you can see, hopefully that's focusing okay, you can see how it's going to look. And then you're just going to sew through this, and you just want it all tucked in nice and clean. And like I said, I just use my clips, and you can see, like, I fold in those little extra bits so that they don't hang out, because I don't want them hanging out. I just want them tucked in nice, and I'll just clip it. So I hope that's helpful for you for finishing your corners. Okay, and let's see. So I guess I started talking about 2.5 inches, 2.5 inch wide binding versus 2 1/4. If this is your first bag, you might want to do 2.5. A lot of people prefer 2.5 because it's just a little bit, you know, it's going to cover your seam. But sometimes if you pull it far because it's a little bit wider, you might see your stitching on the other side, which I think is okay. I used to do that for years. I used to like purposely pull it so that it would fall behind the binding, so it didn't look like I was trying to match the stitching on the top and bottom. So just be mindful of your thread color. I feel like we didn't even talk about this, but I think I was noticing, because I'm making 2 bags, right? And I've been changing my thread colors when I sew on my handles versus when I sew on my bindings or when I'm quilting, because I feel like that's one thing to elevate your project, to just match your threads. So I know that sometimes that's more work to go out and get matching threads, but I think that's definitely a good tip to just make everything nice. So if you are going to use 2.5 inch binding, maybe you could match your thread on like what your fabric is, your main fabric. But one thing I also wanted to mention is if you're going around these curves, and I had to do this on mine, and you're like, it's just too thick, it's not going to pull, it's not going to like wrap around, you can always ease the seam, right? You can just trim out the seam and cut out the excess. And I did it on both of my corners when I was doing this, because my seam allowances were a little bit bigger than 1/4 inch. So you can always do that. I wanted to talk about, let's see, I don't know where my stiletto went. Let's see, I can't find it. I must have been using it, but use your stiletto. So I talked about Bayani's stiletto. It's my favorite stiletto. There's a lot of reasons why I love it, but it's got like a fine ground tip on the end, and so it like grabs your fabric really nice. So when you're sewing around these curves and you pull the clip off and your binding fabric moves a little bit, you can use your stiletto as like a little finger to hold it right in place when you're sewing. So I always use my stiletto when I'm sewing my bindings. And it's got a pressing tool on the back, which is what I use when I am pressing my bindings open. Like if I just need to finger press something open, I use that end. Anyways, it's great. It's great. If you don't have a stiletto you love, then you can check out Annie's. I have those in my shop, but she has them on her website too. Okay, and then let's see. I wanted to talk about, I'll just really quick show you, well, I'll show you on this one. Oh, actually, I'll show you on this one. I started putting this end panel in, but I'm going to unclip it so you guys can get a good view. The stabilizer sleeve. If you're making the large or the medium, you'll sew your stabilizer sleeve in just like this. It's not a pocket like you think. It's not enclosed. You're not sewing in your, it's a complete sleeve on both ends, right? So I'm not doing a very good job showing this because it's very difficult because it's so big. But it's a sleeve on both sides, right? So you can put your stabilizer sleeve in from either end. And you will put your stabilizer sleeve in after the bag is made, not while you're sewing it, because it won't be easy to sew any of these on if you put your plastic sleeve in at this point. But I'll show you how to put one of those in. Anyway, so that's how the sleeve looks, right? It's just a little pocket, but not really a pocket because it's like open on both ends. Anyway, so I hope just seeing that visual is helpful so that when you're working on that part, you'll understand that a little bit better. Okay, and then another thing I wanted to talk about, really that's it for the construction. That's it for the construction. It's a pretty straightforward, simple bag, and I think you'll love it. I think you'll want to make more of them. I already do. And I have to just share that this bag was not even in my plans for the sew along until I thought about sharing about the easy piecing grid, and then I was like, oh, I might as well try it on the All the Things tote. And this has been such a fun bag to make, and I love that about sew alongs because it's like I want to share. So I'm like, what can I share more than what I've already shared? But so this is going to be a large All the Things tote. I have been sharing reels about how to use the easy piecing grid. It's in my shop now too. So far, for the large size, I've used one panel. And I haven't made my end panels and pockets for this yet. I am working on it, so I'm a little behind on some of the quilting, but I had a lot of questions on how to do handles all the way around the bag. So this will have handles going all the way down on both sides and meet in the middle. So this is similar to the patchwork duffel, like the handle construction, right? It's really similar to that. So I just wanted to share about it. I can't remember exactly how many inches I used. I was trying to find my notes, but it was in the last newsletter, but it was just shy of 3 yards. So you could probably make your handles 3 yards, or it was probably like 3 or 4 inches, 5 inches. I don't know, just shy of that. So, but the information was in the newsletter. I decided not to sew my handles in half on this. I just wanted to try it just like this. And I actually think I'm going to like it. And then I had people ask about, how do you join the ends? So you leave this one big piece. I found the center. I found the center of my thing, and I centered it on my patchwork. Oh, I just pulled the pin out. I centered it on my patchwork, so this was halfway through the bag, right? And then I just pinned it down. I pinned it down. And then on the other side, I don't know if you can see right here. I just folded the edges under. So I folded it under a 1/2 inch. You can't even really see it. Folded under, so this it's not a raw edge, it's a finished edge. I've seen people just zigzag their webbing together. I think that could work just fine too. But I just met them in the middle, right? And then I just pinned them on. So then you just sew one side, and then I did my little X. And I did this in the exact same placement and as far up as I would have if I was attaching the handle according to the pattern, like this. I did it exactly the same as I would have, except it just continued all the way down and across the whole pattern. And the measurement here is a little bit different for the size, but I decided that I wanted to just center it over the patchwork so I didn't lose any of this and I didn't lose any of this. It was kind of like centered over it. So I just did my placement based on my patchwork. So So hopefully those tips help you if you decide to do handles and placement like this. It is a little bit different, but if you want to do it exactly according to the pattern, I think it was maybe an inch off or something, but you totally could. But this is just what I decided to do for my patchwork one. And I am so excited about this. Like, I'm so excited about this. So I haven't, oh, excuse me, I just hit my camera. I haven't added my stabilizer sleeve in this yet, because I wanted to add my handles, but maybe I should have, I don't know if I should have done the handles first. It will stitch through my handles if I add my stabilizer sleeve, which doesn't bother me. It's the bottom, so it was gonna stitch through one way or another, but anyways, so if you are hoping to do all patchwork for your whole bag, for the end panels and the pockets, I think two of the Easy Piecing Grid would totally do that. And I think I'm going to quilt this for the end panel, my starry lining, because I really like that and I want some of that to be seen on the outside, and then maybe do a patchwork pocket. That's my plan, but I just haven't had a chance to do it yet. So I hope that was helpful. Okay, let's see. So that's all I had prepared to share with you today, but I wanted to just go over, I wrote notes on all the pattern, or all of the questions that were on the Instagram stories. So one of them was the stabilizer. Can you show us the stabilizer? Okay, I pulled a stabilizer out to show you. Also, these are out of stock on my website, but I have more coming. They should be here Tuesday. You guys just keep selling me out, which is awesome, but it's something you won't need till the very end, so if you want to wait to grab it, you can. Okay, so here's a bag that I have finished, right? And this is how you're going to put the stabilizer sleeve in. I just pop out one end, flip one end inside out, like this. Okay, you can see that? And then you just slide this right in. I'm going to whack myself in the head. I'm just going to slide it right in like that. And then you pop the corner back out. It's really, really simple and easy. But it's great because if you want to wash your bag, just pop it out and you can throw this in the washing machine. You can machine wash, it's soft and stable. I usually air dry my bags, but you can totally wash these bags. So anyways, that is how the stabilizer sleeve works. I had someone ask about using a walking foot. So I sew on a FOF, has a built-in walking foot, so I can use my 1/4 inch foot all the time when my walking foot is engaged. So someone asked, should I be using my walking foot when I'm constructing my bag? I don't know any different, really I don't. So I think I have seen other people's attachments of walking feet. If you feel like you can use a 1/4 inch seam for your construction while using your particular walking foot, then I would say use it. I think walking feet are always helpful if you can use it. So that's my advice on the walking foot. Okay, we talked about rounding corners. We talked about bias binding. We talked about the 3 yards needed for handles all the way around. Someone asked about webbing, 1 inch versus 1.5. You could do 1 inch if you wanted. I've seen Shelly from Tote Quilting has 1 inch webbing on one of the bags she made. But I stock both 1 inch wide and 1.5 inch wide polypro on my website. I have all my 1 inch webbing grouped together, so you have to just go to the drop down menu and find it. I think someone was having a hard time finding it, so I'm sorry that wasn't more easily accessible. Okay, well that is the questions that we had. Someone just barely asked to see a duffel bag, and I have one handy, so I will show you. Here is the large patchwork duffel bag. This is out of a collection called Rise and Shine. It's Melody Miller's. It is shipping to stores very soon. I think this month or next. So, it's big. This is huge. It's such a big, nice, like, open bag. So, honestly, this is your next bag if you're on a bag making journey because it has a zipper. So, just challenge your skills a little more. And I will pull out because I have it here handy, the mini patchwork duffel right here fits inside. So here's a mini patchwork duffel. So you can see how the handle construction is the same that we are doing now. We're trying to adapt this handle to all the things, which is so fun. So there is that. And this is the patchwork version of the Rise and Shine by Melody Miller for Ruby Star Society. Will that work as a carry-on? Yeah, both of them would work as a carry-on if you want to carry them. One thing to note, I've seen people adapt this pattern and add like a trolley sleeve, a luggage sleeve. You can totally do that on the large patchwork duffel pattern. The small one is a little bit too narrow, so not quite big enough to add your sleeve on for that. All right, so I wanted to show one more thing because I just finished it. A little show and tell at the end of this video. That's not related to all the things, but this is my, oh, awesome. Someone carried theirs on a plane and it worked great, so you definitely can. It says the zipper installation for the duffels is easy peasy. Yeah, I have a video for that on my YouTube as well, so if you have questions on the zipper. This is my pattern. This one is called the Boundless Carryall, and it's a tote, and I actually wrote this before all the things, but I think this would be a great next bag for somebody too. It's more like a purse, right? So I'll try and put it on for you so you can see. Let me move my chair so I can stand back and show you. So I love this bag. It's nice because it has like hardware detail on the handles, so they just like fold right down. But it's also just open inside. There's no pockets on the interior, which I know some people need more pockets, but there are 4 pockets on the exterior, so you could easily add pockets on the sides. But it has slip pockets on the front and slip pockets on the side, and I wanted to show this too. One of the reasons I love this bag, and when I was designing it, I was like, it needed to fit my water bottle, because I was carrying one of these on campus when I was in college, so I needed it to fit my water bottle. Anyways, kind of cute. I just barely finished this one. This is a sample I made out of Stephanie. I can't pronounce her last name. Her Instagram is prettyplease.mx. Stephanie is an Andover designer. And this collection is Enchanted Blooms. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called, but it's shipping to stores, I think, the end of the month. So cute, right? So fun. Okay. Questions. Let's get our questions answered. On the handles, do you use webbing and fold it and stitch? Someone said I'm working on Boundless Carryall right now. I'll be making 2. So fun. Enjoy. I love this. Okay. So the handles on all the things and the Boundless Carryall is folded and stitched. So I'm trying to think. Okay, I think you could see the stitching really good on this. So this is just, I made the handle. This one's covered with fabric. And then you just fold it, and you definitely want to back stitch at the beginning and end of this so that these stitches don't come undone. But you just stitch it in half. Yep. So the handles are just folded and stitched. So I hope that visual helps. Hi, Jen. I hope you're well. So cute. So many options. Thank you. Okay, let's see. I think that's it. I think we got all the questions. I was trying to make this video not so long, but that was one thing I wanted to mention. Last housekeeping items. I did make Hello pouches out of this collection too, and it's so cute. I'll be sharing more posts of those too. Okay, housekeeping. These videos, the weekly lives, I figured it out. Someone requested to be able to watch them on YouTube. You're going to watch this at the end and it's not even going to help you, but the videos are going to be on YouTube, so you can watch them on YouTube. So if you're watching this and you're like, I want to replay it, go to YouTube, because then you can pause it, you can speed it up, watch it faster, all those things. So I hope that's great and helpful. We're going to link to all the YouTubes because we put all the weeks up there. So if you need to refer back to them, it will be a much easier place to do it than on Instagram. And then big shout out to our sponsors as well for the sew along. We did that. We tried that in place of weekly giveaways, which was a great relief to me. Just one less thing to organize in the scheme of doing sew along. So Quilted Works is a great quilt shop located in Southern Utah. They ship. They have an online website as well. I worked there for 6 years. I love them. They're lovely, lovely, lovely. And what was that? Thanks for adding to YouTube. I joined there. Okay, well, it's not going to be on YouTube right away, but like I'm going to export it, get it uploaded, and so it'll be up there today. So you can definitely rewatch it on YouTube sometime today. And then, okay, Quilted Works was one of our sponsors, and then Domesticity was our sponsor, and I hope you guys are using the coupon codes that they left you in the newsletter. those will expire at the end of the sew along. So you have another week to use those discount codes to shop. Hopefully they've helped you get your supplies for your projects. And then also Matante Quilting, who is in Canada. So any of our Canada participants, if you have any bag making supplies that you need to grab, be sure to use that discount code in her bag making shop. So, all right. Thank you, everybody. I am trying to decide if you guys want another live next week, send me a DM to just showcase the end. Maybe I'll just hop on quick to show you my finished bags. And we'll just wrap up this along. We'll just plan on that. And I hope you guys have enjoyed this. And then if you have questions, of course, just let us know. We want to help you get your bags finished. I'm doing my very best to field all the questions on social media and email. So, and DMs and all of it. It's a lot sometimes. So, if I didn't answer your question, send me another email. Email's the easiest. It will for sure get handled in my inbox. And then if I missed your DM, send me another DM and I will do my best to answer. So you guys are awesome. This has been so fun. Honestly, I've really enjoyed this sew along and I can't wait to finish my bags with you all. And I hope you have a really great Friday and a really great weekend.